that if you allow them to come into your community and then they institute the laws of the country where they came from, you're going to have a real problem. Like, they don't live the way you live. They don't have the same respect for women that you have. They don't treat them the same way. They don't allow dogs. Like, there's a lot of like stuff that a lot of people might not even be aware that come with that problem. It's like, the idea is supposed to be that Western society is inclusive and progressive because we're intelligent and educated and we care. But you can care so much that you let in criminals, and then you give those criminals all your money, and then the criminals can take over your country slowly but surely. So, and this is no one thinks that's a possible thing. No, people look at the Colosseum, you look at ancient Greece, and they think, wow, I wonder what happened to those guys. What do you think happened? Probably the same shit that's happening right now to England, the same shit that could have happened to America. Civilizations fall apart for various reasons. And one great way to get them to fall apart is to bring in a bunch of people, and they don't have to follow your laws, and they bring the laws of, wherever they're from, whatever fundamentalist religion country they're from, where they have a bunch of crazy laws that are kind of archaic.
Well, this is Sharia law, Islamic law, as you probably know. I mean, again, to your point, I think the best example I can give people of what happens if you do that is when Lebanon got its independence in 1948. They were a Christian country, and they were a very confident country. They were they had the best universities. They had a very open society. I never went to Beirut. I don't know if you went to Beirut, but Beirut in the 60s was meant to be the best place on earth to be. Great wine, freedom, very enlightened. It was lots of people were there. The minute that the Muslim population went over about 15%, you started to get a problem with a civil war. You got the Druze and Maronite Christians in a civil war with the Muslims, and now Lebanon is a Muslim country, and Hezbollah, backed by Iran, is effectively running the show. So to your point, I couldn't agree more. And the Rape Gang report, which we've written, was crowdfunded by 20,000 concerned English people who we raised not a huge amount of money. We raised about £600,000 in varying quantities people gave, and we did it because the government will not have a statutory inquiry. So our government, and particularly the Labour Party, have been presiding over this because it goes to the Muslim bloc vote. So we have in the UK a system of postal voting. And in a lot of the inner cities and the places where these Islamic populations live, they are or have historically voted Labour. That's beginning to change. They're beginning to vote for Muslim independence now, and I sit with some of them at the back of Parliament. So effectively, this inquiry we set out with a completely unbiased view of what we would find, and we did it because we were pushing the government to have a statutory inquiry. And a lot of the reason I got involved in it was I think it was Elon Musk who triggered. He talked about it because a lot of people in the UK, I don't think, know the extent to which this has been happening and the length of time it's been happening for.
This episode is brought to you by Onyx Off-Road. Ever wonder how to reach these epic mountain lakes? They're tucked away, dispersed campsites. With Onyx Off-Road, you'll find legal open trails around you, and even better, guided trails mapped by real off-roaders. Each one includes photos, terrain descriptions, and difficulty ratings, so you'll know if your vehicle's capable before you go. Unlike other apps, Onyx gives you turn-by-turn directions on the trail, and their new dispersed camping layer shows where you can legally set up camp. You'll also get private land boundaries, public land overlays, and the ability to download maps for offline use so that you're never guessing, even when you're off the grid. It's a powerful tool built for serious off-roaders. Try Onyx Off-Road for 50% off. Go to onxmaps.com/Joe Rogan. Why is that? What is that a failure of your media? Is it a failure of the politicians? Like, why don't people know about
Well,
this?
it's a total failure of the media, because the media are supposed to be an independent body that holds to account failures of the state. And it's basically because this block vote through the postal voting system, which needs to be changed, is effectively, or has been, keeping the Labour Party in power. So they've put power ahead of principle. And in the report we cover this. We've covered the reasons why it's so serious. And to your point, we even cover, as you quite rightly say, the fact that dogs are not liked by the Islamic faith, largely because Muhammad liked cats, he didn't like dogs. And what we wanted to do was interview victims, which we did. We did it properly. It took us over a year. We had a rape gang victim, Sammy Woodhouse, who led it. She's got a child by her rapist. And we had a team of people, and we literally produced the witness bundles, and we listened to the witnesses, and then we had a 2-week hearing in London where people gave evidence, and we had a proper barrister who effectively presided over it and then helped us write the report. It's effectively Graham Smith, the barrister, did a fantastic job. And we didn't start out with any preconceived ideas. It started because we read some court transcripts of some of the people who've been found guilty of this, which the government, by the way, has tried to keep quiet. Some of the historical court transcripts disappear. So we've been calling for these transcripts to be kept now. We've actually tried to make a noise about that. And the more we read this and the more we carried on with the rape gang inquiry, the more it became clear to us that obviously there's a link between this power and the abuse and grooming and if you like, damage that was done to white working class English girls. And it does go, and in the report we've looked at the reasons why, to your point, there is a cultural difference of opinion between an open, high trust Christian view of women particularly and the Islamic view of women, which is all in the report. So for instance, as you probably know, if a woman accuses somebody of rape, and a lot of these Muslims come from Pakistan, Joe. They're predominantly Pakistan, and they're predominantly from one part of Pakistan called Mirpur. There are some from Bangladesh, there are some from Somalia, there are some from Eritrea. There are other Muslim countries that perpetrate some of this. And of course there are white people who perpetrate rape as well, but nothing on the scale of this. This is quite horrific. And our report has effectively uncovered this. I think we've played a part with this report in the government saying that they're going to have now a statutory inquiry, because we didn't have any statutory powers to be able to force people to appear at our hearing. They all appeared voluntarily. The government can actually force people legally to appear. They can actually make it a legal requirement that people attend. We couldn't do that. But there had been reports in the past. There was the Jay report in 2014, and there's been the Casey report, all of which confirmed that this was happening, and the state still continued to try and pretend it was just happening in a small number of siloed areas where you obviously had a high Islamic population. The state has equally failed to collect data on the crimes that are perpetrated, so the ethnicity of the people who are perpetrating the crimes, and from there you can extrapolate, once you've got the data, as to whether or not you've got an extraordinary problem in one particular section of society. And again, using my parliamentary questions, I've been forcing as much disclosure as I can get, and this is how we've discovered that a lot of the data that should be being collected by the police particularly, by the National Health Service, by social services, a lot of the data has not been properly collected. Possibly because the state does, I think, know that this is happening, but they don't want to admit that their multicultural experiment, which, as you probably know, famously Enoch Powell warned would fail with his speech, the Rivers of Blood speech, for which he was heavily criticised. So I think they do know, but they don't want to admit it. They don't want to be called racist. They don't want to, and this has permeated the whole of British society since Tony Blair. People are frightened to be accused of effectively being biased and white. And we're taught about things, as you probably, I don't know whether you have it here, unconscious bias and all of the other sort of what I call woke DEI-driven rubbish, which has permeated Britain in the same way. I think it may have originally come from you guys, but it's certainly had a huge effect on us.
I think it had a great grip on us for a few years, and it's lessened its hold.
Well, thanks to the Donald. Yeah.
Yeah, that helped a lot. And I think a big part of it was Elon buying Twitter, where you got legitimate free speech, and which is, again, back to this 12,000 people getting arrested each year for social media posts recently. Like, that is... How is that tolerated? I just don't understand how people aren't... I was about to say up in arms, but that's also part of the problem, is that no one's armed over there.
Well, I have actually got some guns, Joseph, because I have a farm. So when you come to the UK, I hope you'll come and shoot some pheasants with me. But
if you don't have a farm...
well, if you don't have a farm, you'll find it very difficult to get a gun of any kind. And even if you have a farm, so... Reform tried to politically assassinate me in 25, early 25, and made false accusations about me threatening to hit one of the Zia Yusuf in a meeting, and somebody was saying I went around Parliament saying I was a very good shot and I was going to shoot Zia Yusuf. I mean, as if you believe that, I've got a completely clean record. I employ lots of people, I have lots of businesses, and I've never had an issue. But listen, 4 armed police turned up, took all my guns away. I mean, and I'm a member of Parliament. I said to them, guys, you could have just called me up and we could have talked about it, but no.
Wow.
They turned up.
Just from an accusation.
9:30 at night. Left at 11:45. We got them on the cameras. Took all my guns, all my ammo, and it took me 5 or 6 months to get them all back. But look, so they don't want the public to have guns. And they are doing their very best to damage the shooters who perfectly legitimately like to go and shoot clay pigeons, who like to go and shoot game, who like to go and hunt. Effectively, they're trying to make that very difficult through the licensing laws for guns. As you probably know, they banned handguns.
The 90s, right?
In the late 90s, because there was a murder up in Dunblane.
One murder.
So everybody, my father used to shoot pistols for Oxford University, and he's dead now, bless him, but he had, all his pistols were taken away. The pistols he used to shoot with at Oxford University. I mean, we now have a society which needs radical change, and we need to release the individual. And to your point on social media posts, there was a lovely lady, Lucy Conley, who was locked up for 32 months for just a very emotional social media post, which she deleted after 4 hours, about the Southport killings, where this chap, Axel Rudakabana, went and knifed 3 young girls and killed them, despite the fact that the British state, through Prevent, was aware of this. And we've had a similar case recently with Henry Novak, where again, it was actually, I think on this occasion, a Sikh stabbed him, and the police, despite the fact when they arrived at the scene, he told them he'd been stabbed. The police didn't believe him, and they tried to handcuff him, and as a result of that, it's arguable that they opened up the stab wound, and he drowned in his own blood. Meanwhile, his murderer was never handcuffed. So this is where the British state's gone completely wrong. So instead of one law for everybody and one policing for everybody, this sort of view that the white population is racist, which I don't personally believe them to be, I think Britain is a very tolerant country.
Do you think that this perspective that society has sort of adopted in the UK about white people being bad, do you think this was... there was architecture to it? This was by design that this was done? Or is this just a natural response to people being called racist? Because of course, in the past, there was more racism than there is today. And people always want to point to that racism as, evidence of colonialism, evidence of whatever it is that happened in days past. But why why in England do you think that narrative took hold so well?
Because I think, Joe, to your point, that this post-war plan for multiculturalism, I think they realized that
So it was by design.
They've got a problem.
So part of it was probably infiltrating the universities and promoting these kind of ideas.
It's almost as if, with the World Economic Forum, there's this view that the Anglo-Saxon nations have commanded and dominated too much of the world's resources, and there's almost like this misguided altruistic view that we should become more concerned with global welfare rather than the welfare of our own citizens, which I totally disagree with.
Well, there's also the "you will own nothing and you will be happy."
This is your Klaus Schwab,
which is
palpable
hilarious.